Okay, and we are back, and a bit more explanation of the last video that would make the refinement and understanding from the viewpoint of Shaul and what he meant. We understand Shaul, he was a Shaliach. He had a dual function in his life as the kingdom to come person, and also the teaching of the relink. And those, they were merely the fact of the Adam's link that was broken, and he would teach them how to be relinked. And it is obvious also that he point out the government to come as a result of their obedience. He was primarily concerned with the goys, people from the outside, being saved. And then obviously he encouraged them to have congregation, to congregate together, to share what Yahshua did for them. And obviously they would share amongst themselves some understanding of these teachings, and they would maintain themselves in encouraging each other. So this is what it meant. However, the part of the kingdom to come, he pointed them to the camp. And the reason this is found, it's because it is in Romans, and it states very plainly in the first verse. It states, let every soul be subjected. And then of course we understand from soul is the very living being that was given at the first plan. And then Adam was a living soul, and before the sin he was already linked. So what he's saying is, he doesn't state of the persons that would be in the faith, the goys, saved goys. He doesn't state, he simply states, let every soul. Those people, they are coming from the outside without the relink. Otherwise Shaul then would say, let every believer, or every goy believer. So he then refers to the people coming from the outside. They are not saved, but they are there at the gate. So then at this time be subjected themselves to the authorities of the kingdom to come camp. Then it started making more sense. So then, what is going on today? As we understand, most of Israel, and they are not in a position where they should be. They are mostly lost in this world. And we understand that the world itself was transformed into a false kingdom to come. So then put your heads to work. We understand from the time of Shaul, obviously he pointed those people to the camp, because he states every soul, every person, every soul means those people, they were unsaved. But they wanted answers for their problems, because it is related with the authorities of governments. So then obviously he pointed them to the camp. Go to the camp, but from there subject yourselves to the authorities of the kingdom to come government, so then you can receive instructions in what to do. So then we understand, after this event, when Shaul was gone, Shaul was murdered, we understand many years later, around a couple 150 years later or so, then Constantine came, and he wanted this kingdom to come to make his own kingdom to come. So what did he do? He had those places burned and people persecuted and many of them slaughtered, and then he changed the scriptures. He twisted them. And he decided to make this world its own kingdom. So then we are working on the reverse. And then we think that people should do certain actions to be taken into heaven. It was absolutely made it up. Because Shaul is very, very, very explicit. Don't listen to those that are coming from the outside of the kingdoms, to listen to the kingdom to come, and don't let them be contrary to their authority. The people outside, they would come and they would search for answers. Fine, they are not saved. And that's why Shaul stated, let every soul. Otherwise he would say, let every believer. Or let every believer in the faith then listen to them. But it was obvious. Those that were saved, they were under the authority of the Elohim, or the kingdom to come people. But those people from the other countries, they were not saved. And however, they wanted answers. So Shaul simply pointed out, go there to the camp. But there, when you get there, then be subjected to the authorities of the kingdom to come people. Because there is no authority in the world, in other words, from the place they are coming from, that is above of Elohim's government. So then, later on, he explains why. And then, otherwise, then he explains also the danger of themselves, the kingdom to come set apart camp, to be listening to these junky people from the world. Because the world is condemned. They are not to be listening to the world. But then in the time of Constantine, he changed the scripture around. And then he made the people so blind that they don't understand the kingdom to come, but they only concern with this very distorted vision of what they should do to earn heaven. In the words of Shaul, those people are judged. It's past tense. There is no heaven. It was made it up. So this world then, Constantine, he lied. He made the world their own kingdom. And that's why the world doesn't work. Because Shaul was very explicitly, he said, do not listen to these people of the world because they are judged. Judged. There is no judgment to come. They are judged. Judgment to come was a lie from Constantine, because he had to change the law. It was not only to change, for instance, from the 7th day observance to the 1st. Then the rest of it would indicate otherwise. He did not only change the law, or a couple of the main 10 holy laws. He had to change these, and then he had to manipulate then what Shaul explained. If he hadn't done it this way, then the first modification of the main laws, they would be caught. So then he changed those primary laws, and also he manipulated what Shaul taught. And then this world became his own kingdom to come, and he's Satan's. And that's why the nations, they don't have any direction. They are lost. And then the nation of Israel, rather than being in their camps and then teaching the world, they are lost themselves. They are without direction. So there is not in the world their own kingdom that's coming from heaven in their own understanding. Doesn't exist. They are teaching junk that you have to do certain actions to be taken into heaven. Heaven doesn't exist. It was made it up. When Constantine changed the laws, primarily from the 7th day observance to the 1st day observance, because he was a pagan, then he switched around what Shaul said. It's obvious. It's very obvious. He had to come up with some sort of a lie. Oh, what is this kingdom to come? He was stupid. He didn't understand what was this kingdom to come. But what he did understand was the nations, they were coming to the camps and they were being prosperous. This he did understand. And then Shaul was also speaking of the coming from the dead. Boy, what is the kingdom to come? And then people coming from the dead. Must be some sort of a place up in a space where people should be. And then they should be doing certain actions to be taken in. And this is what he came up with. So then he rewrote the renewed covenant and put together in a codex. And people are trying to make in this world a kingdom to come, and it never works. So then what Shaul is saying, and he's given to us, is every time there is a kingdom to come question regarding governments, regarding authorities, point them to the camp. That's why Shaul starts, let every soul. Soul is a name, it is a definition, should say, not name. It's a definition of what a living soul is without the relink. They are lost. That's why they would come to the camp, because they are lost. The world is lost. Our country is lost. Other countries are lost. What they are trying to do is by using this stolen nearing line in Shavuot, because during the time of Shaul, afterwards then it was not maintained. And they are trying to get this understanding from the nearing line, and then they are absconding themselves with, but the world doesn't work. And they want more on top of it without being obedient in what Moses said to do. Do they want more? What do you understand of the scriptures? The truth is given. Are you so stupid not to understand that there is not heaven? There isn't heaven. It was made it up. And the situation, do the best you can and then hope for the best later. No, there is no hope in the future. If you don't understand the proper context of the scriptures, you are going to the first death. There is no judgment to come. It was made it up. Because Shaul stated those people from the camp, if they would be listening to those outside of the camp, they would be judged as they are judged. It's past tense, not future. Future was made it up by Constantine. He manipulated the first laws. So in order for them, the people to divert their focuses from the kingdom to come, because the nations, they were being prosperous. They were prospering. But then Constantine, he began to envy them. So he had to lie. He had to come up with this kingdom to come basis, and the people, they had to do certain ways to earn heaven, and it doesn't exist while the world is going to heck. So then when the camps are formed and reformed as per the instructions of Moses, plus the teachings of Yahshua, plus what Shaul taught, then we understand where we stand. This world is condemned. Yahshua did not come to the world to save the world. He came to save the people of the world based upon the instructions. So then much more coming up.